Okay? That is the constitution of an enemy as an animal before you hit him militarily. This is the visual regime. Now, let me go back. Here is what we're witnessing is my point of the argument is the constitution of a visual regime, and for you to know that everything is now, as Hamid Dabashi argued in '67, is a society of spectacles. As asked to take pictures of everything I do. Unless you take a picture and send it back, it doesn't exist. And preferably we put it on your Facebook. It doesn't exist. This is why I have this picture. I wish I looked like Cindy Crawford said. In other words, the visual representation is what is real, not real. Okay? The problem that we have faced as Iranians, as Arabs, as Muslims, as whatever, is that the perception of us that has been constituted in visual terms is beyond our control. This is, for example, the figure of Mullah Omar that is now being recirculated by way of composing, bringing Ahmadinejad / Iran close to Afghanistan / Mullah Omar. The same is with Osama bin Laden. The same is with Saddam Hussein. Okay? Now, I'm going to go back to the question of, for us to be able to narrate. How do we narrate ourselves? My basic argument is that because of the change in the architecture of mass media, New York Times and CNN and Al Jazeera and etc., they don't have the authority and power that they used to in terms of the manufacturing of anything that they want. Not because of how smarter we Iranians have become, but by the fundamental change that has happened in mass media. That right now, in Columbia School of Journalism, my own university, they have just hired a new dean in order to catch up with the new media. When Hossein Darakhshan, who is now in jail, a famous blogger, wrote on the top of his blog, Sardabir Khodam, editor myself, perhaps in a moment of frivolity, etc., I don't think we knew what was happening in terms of production of news. And what, as a result, I'm interested is exactly in those terms how these notions of self-representations are taking place. This Sarmad Zemestun is a song with which my generation of Iranians grew up as a song that belonged to Cherikai Fadekar.
Oh
everybody else, when I first saw this video and heard that song, had a moment of, oh my God, what are they doing? They're stealing somebody else's, some other movement song. But then I came to the conclusion, why did Siyakal happen? What did Jazani fight for? Hamid Dabashi, etc. Not for these people these children to sing and dance. In other words, what I'm suggesting is, through this visual regime, we are facing a new phenomenon. Yes, Musavi was the prime minister of Iran during the 8 atrocious years. Yes, Khatami has his own records, Karoubi is this, all of this, but all of them are being given a new life. These children have become the parents of these people. We're dealing with a new phenomenon. And I borrow the idea of permission to narrate from Edward Said. I keep insisting on the question of self-representation, how this movement is beginning to define itself. There's a question of playfulness and frivolity, dancing, singing, mockery. And ultimately, this movement has taught me modesty and humility. Because if you begin to dismiss one of them, well, she's an actress. Oh, look at them. They have dyed their hair. She's too old, she's too lonely. Well, he used to be a member of the past stars, right? And that guy is a mullah anyway. Right? Well, then what about this? Nushin Ahmadi Khorasani, by far one of the most insightful theorists of the Green Movement, as a leading feminist, and Mahbouba Abbas Khodizadeh. Do they count? In other words, if you begin to dismiss, well, he's a religious intellectual, the other one was a cleric, he in fact was a theorist of the movement, of Velayat al-Faqih. What about them? Fatemeh Shams has become a phenomenon on Facebook by virtue of the love letters that she has written to her husband. And now they have just arrested her young 23-year-old sister, Zahra Shams, in order to silence her. She's a graduate student in Oxford. Do they count? One morning, people woke up and said, Lucy had a green thing on her. What about her? Does she count? Oh, not Mahmalot again, right? In other words, if you can begin to, for perfectly legitimate reason, to dismiss every aspect of this, what about them? They will remain, this is the distinguished Mr. and Mrs. Lever. I want to come to a conclusion. My argument throughout these things is that major newspapers and television stations and so forth, they have stopped being the power, having the power that they wrote. Now, as I go into cyberspace, on your own campus, here of mine, Sima Shakhsari has written the text on cyber governmentality as her dissertation. But I believe in limits to cyber governmentality, how much this notion of governmentality can work. And I go through a close analysis of this Majid Tawakkuli business when she was forced to put